The fluorescent lights buzzed as I slid the medical note across the conference table. Hands trembled as Colin picked it up, scanning the doctor's recommendation for minor surgery. The Monday meeting felt heavier than usual. Colin held the paper up like it was contaminated. Well, he said with fake concern. Maybe architecture's just too tough for delicate types. The room erupted in nervous laughter. People glanced at me then, looked away. My face burned with humiliation, kept my voice steady. It's minor surgery, Colin. 2 weeks maximum. But he waved the note around like a flag, drawing more chuckles. My chest tightened as colleagues avoided eye contact. Delicate types, he repeated, shaking his head. I guess some people can't handle real pressure. More laughter. I felt smaller with each second. When the meeting ended, I rushed to the bathroom. Staring at my reflection, I wiped away tears. But something shifted inside me. I whispered to my reflection, no. He will regret this. The humiliation burned, but underneath it, a spark of defiance was growing. Colin had no idea what he'd just started. 3 weeks earlier, everything was different. I sat at my desk late, surrounded by blueprints, finishing my masterpiece. The Lakeside redevelopment project was our biggest contract in years. Poured my heart into every detail. My design was revolutionary. Where others saw crumbling warehouses, I saw community spaces. Where they saw empty lots, I designed parks, connecting neighborhoods. My vision transformed the waterfront into something beautiful and functional. I'd spent months perfecting every angle, every measurement. Sustainable materials, traffic flow, residential commercial integration. Everything was carefully calculated. I'd never been more proud. Colin stopped by that evening, studying my drawings with interest. This is incredible work, Hayley, he said quietly. Really impressive. The client will love this. For a moment I felt validated. He spent 20 minutes asking detailed questions, taking notes. I explained budgets, timelines, environmental considerations. He nodded enthusiastically, calling it brilliant and exactly what we needed. But then I saw something that chilled me. Colin was at the copy machine scanning my original drawings. My vision. And he wasn't making copies for me. Something was wrong. The next morning, I walked into the conference room to find my designs on the big screen. But something was terribly wrong. Where my signature should have been, Colin's name appeared in bold letters. My heart pounded as I listened to him present my work as his creation. I've been developing this concept for weeks, he told executives confidently. The key innovation is integrating residential and commercial spaces. Those were my exact words from our conversation. I sat frozen watching him explain every detail I'd shared. The community gardens, pedestrian walkways, sustainable materials. Everything was mine but coming from his mouth. The executives nodded approvingly. After the presentation, they congratulated him on the brilliant design. Felt invisible, watching them praise work I'd sacrificed nights and weekends to create. My friend Dana caught my eye, her expression filled with sympathy. Later, walking to lunch, Dana whispered urgently, I can't believe what happened. That was your project, Hayley. Everyone knows it. But knowing it and proving it were different things. The betrayal cut deep. Your life's work stolen in broad daylight. But this was just the beginning of Colin's plan. That afternoon, Dana cornered me by the coffee machine. Her face was serious, and she kept glancing around nervously. We need to talk, she said quietly. Not here. Meet me in the parking garage after work. I spent the day distracted, wondering what was so urgent. 5 I found Dana by her car, arms crossed. The garage was mostly empty, voices echoing off concrete walls. He's gunning for senior partner, she said without greeting. The position opening. Next quarter. And Haley, you're in his way. My stomach dropped as pieces fell into place. What do you mean? I asked, though I suspected the answer. Dana looked uncomfortable. I overheard him talking to corporate. He said you were too emotional for leadership, too soft. 4 big projects. The words hit like a physical blow. After years of proving myself, he was painting me as weak. There's more, Dana continued. He's collecting things. Comments. You've made disagreements. He's building a case. Before I could respond, my phone. Message from Colin. Need to see you first thing tomorrow. We need to discuss. Your attitude. My hand shook, showing Dana the screen. This is it, she whispered. Be careful. Barely slept. By morning my nerves were shot, but I appeared calm, knocking on Colin's office door. Come in, he called cheerfully. I found him behind his desk with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Have a seat, he said, gesturing to the chair. The office felt smaller than usual. So, HR tells me you're asking for medical leave. Interesting timing, don't you think? Kept my voice steady. The surgery's been scheduled for months. I submitted paperwork weeks ago. But Colin just smiled coldly and shook his head. Right in the middle of our biggest project. Bad timing, huh? We've got deadlines. His implication was clear. I was being selfish. It's minor surgery, I insisted. 2 weeks maximum. The timeline can accommodate that. Colin's expression changed. Fake friendliness melting away. Can it? Because I'm looking at our schedule and I don't see how we can afford to lose our... What did you call yourself? Lead designer. When I insisted it was medically necessary, he sneered. Fine. Take your time off. Just don't expect your project waiting when you return. The threat was clear and cruel. As I left, I saw him reaching for his phone. The next morning brought a team meeting I wasn't told about. I walked in to find everyone seated, Colin at the front with a presentation ready. My heart sank, taking the only empty chair. I have an exciting announcement. Colin began with fake enthusiasm. Due to upcoming changes, I'll now be personally leading the Lakeside redevelopment project. The room went silent. My project. He was taking my project. I watched in horror as he clicked to the next slide. There were my designs, my blueprints, my vision. But where my signature should have been, his name was printed boldly. I know this is significant change, he continued, not looking at me. But I want to ensure our biggest client gets the attention this deserves. Some co-workers shifted uncomfortably. They knew whose work this was. After the meeting, I expected someone to say something. But they filed out quietly, avoiding my eyes. Only Dana lingered, her face filled with rage. This is theft, she whispered, but proving it would be nearly impossible. At night I stayed late copying every file, every email, every dated draft to a private drive. Colin wanted to play dirty, I needed insurance. The next morning I discovered my digital access had been revoked. Access denied. Contact administrator. Error message. Confirmed my worst fears. I went to IT immediately. Your access was removed yesterday. The technician said. Boss's orders. Boss's orders. Colin had planned this perfectly, cutting me out while positioning himself as project leader. That afternoon my doctor called with urgent news. We need to schedule surgery soon, Haley, Dr. Peterson said seriously. Waiting could cause complications. I felt trapped between health and career. If I took leave now, Colin would have weeks to cement his theft. But delaying surgery risked serious problems. The stress was killing me. How soon? I asked, dreading the answer. Within 2 weeks ideally, she replied. Your health comes first. I hung up, feeling walls closing in. At evening I made my decision. I would proceed with surgery regardless of professional consequences. My health mattered more than Colin's games. The next day I scheduled the procedure quietly. But Colin walked by at exactly the wrong moment, hearing enough to understand what was happening. He stopped with that familiar cruel smirk. "So you really are running away," he said loudly enough for nearby co-workers to hear. "Right when things get challenging." I tried staying professional, but he wasn't finished with his performance. "Medical leave," Colin repeated with air quotes, shaking his head for our growing audience. "How convenient. Some people just can't handle pressure." My face burned as whispers started around the office. But this time I reached for my phone under the desk. My finger found the record button as Colin continued his show. "Don't worry," he said with fake reassurance. "Real professionals will handle things while you're recovering." The emphasis on recovering made it sound fabricated. More whispers followed. After he walked away, I stopped recording and saved it. My hands shook, but for the first time in weeks I felt powerful. Colin had given me evidence of harassment. 2 weeks later, recovering at home, I checked my work email. What I found made my blood run cold. A message from HR. "Unapproved absence documentation. According to our records, you never filed proper medical leave. Your absence is unapproved, which may affect employment status." This was impossible. I'd submitted everything weeks ago. Digging deeper, I found the answer. Colin had received my email with medical documentation, but forwarded only the text to HR, removing the doctor's note. It looked like I'd asked for leave without justification. The manipulation was breathtakingly calculated. Once well enough to use my laptop properly, I logged into company cloud storage. What I discovered was worse than imagined. Of my project drafts had vanished completely from shared folders. Months of work gone. Design, iterations, budgets, client communications. Deleted. It was like I'd never worked on the project. My name was systematically erased from digital records. But Colin made one crucial mistake. I still had my personal backup drive, created before access was revoked. Every file was there, complete with original timestamps proving my authorship. The dates showed I'd designed everything weeks before Colin claimed it. I organized the evidence carefully. Screenshots of deleted files, original designs, email threads showing my work process, everything proving the timeline. The metadata was particularly damning, showing when files were created and modified and by whom. Colin's contributions were simple copy-paste. Jobs taking my work and adding his name. For the first time since this nightmare began, I smiled. He thought he'd covered his tracks perfectly. My phone rang. Dana sounded frantic. "Colin's falling apart. The whole project is collapsing." I sat up, suddenly interested. "He changed your entire layout to impress the client. It's a disaster." "The client is furious," she continued. "The new design doesn't match promises. The budget's exploding because Colin's changes require different materials and permits," Dana explained. I felt vindication, mixed with sadness. My careful design was being destroyed by someone who understood nothing about architecture. "I've been keeping copies of his frantic emails," Dana said, quietly, "as insurance." I asked her to forward them to my personal account. "Already on their way," she replied. "This has gone too far." The next morning brought an unexpected email from Ellen Brooks in HR, asking for a confidential conversation about my medical leave status. I agreed to meet at a coffee shop near my apartment. Ellen was a professional, young woman with kind eyes. But her last name nagged at me. Brooks. I'd heard that name recently. When I mentioned the connection, her face tightened. "Colin Brooks is my cousin," she admitted quietly. "And I'm tired of covering for him." The revelation was shocking. Someone from Colin's family was reaching out. "I've been watching your medical leave situation," she continued. "The documentation issues, project reassignment. It doesn't add up." Ellen explained she'd noticed patterns in Colin's behavior. "The higher-ups are asking questions," she said conspiratorially. "Other complaints, other projects where things didn't make sense." Hope surged through me. "Stay quiet for now," Ellen advised. "Let him sink himself." Days passed slowly as I recovered and waited. Ellen's words echoed. "Let him sink himself." Patience was hard when I wanted immediate justice, but I saw the wisdom. And Dana called with urgent news. "The client presentation is today." Colin insisted on doing it himself, even though the project's a mess. "You have to watch this." She sent me the live stream link. I logged in as the presentation started. Colin stood confidently, my stolen designs displayed behind him. Client representatives sat at the table, expressions neutral, but attentive. Everything started normally with Colin's opening remarks about vision and innovation. But then he began technical details and everything fell apart. His numbers contradicted the slides. He mixed up critical measurements. When asked about specific design elements, he gave vague answers that made no sense. I watched the client's face grow harder with each mistake. The lead representative started taking angry notes. The breaking point came when Colin tried explaining environmental impact calculations. He got the math completely wrong, proposing solutions that would make problems worse. The client's patience finally ran out. She stood abruptly. "We'll be contacting corporate directly," she said coldly, and the video feed cut out. Colin had destroyed my work through sheer incompetence. The next morning brought an email that made my heart race with fury. From Colin himself. "Project abandonment and responsibility. Due to your abandonment of the Lakeside project during critical phase, it began. The company may hold you personally responsible for client dissatisfaction and delays. Your failure to provide adequate documentation before unapproved leave created significant challenges." I read it 3 times. Anger growing. The audacity was breathtaking. He'd stolen my work, then blamed me for his disaster. But Colin had made a crucial error, giving me the perfect opening. Crafted my response carefully. Please find attached complete archive of actual project development. Timeline including original designs, communications, and progress reports. It should clarify any confusion about project ownership and responsibility. Attached. Realtimeline.zip, containing everything. Dated drafts proving authorship, emails showing my process, screenshots of deleted files, and most importantly, the recording of Colin mocking my medical leave. Within hours, corporate called. They wanted to speak with me immediately. The next day, I joined a video conference with 3 executives. VP of Operations, Head of Legal, and Senior HR Representative. "We've reviewed your materials." The VP began carefully. "We have questions about the Lakeside timeline." I explained everything from the beginning. The design process, Colin's theft, the sabotage of my medical leave. The real shock came when they played my recording of Colin mocking my medical leave. His cruel voice filled the room. "So you really are running away, right when things get challenging." The silence was deafening. "This recording was made without Mr. Brooks' knowledge," the legal representative noted. "But given it occurred in public workspace, it's admissible as harassment evidence." Relief flooded through me. The VP leaned forward gravely. "The client has formally complained about the presentation and threatens to terminate their contract. We need to understand what went wrong." I explained how Colin changed my design without understanding implications. "Would you be willing to help salvage the client relationship?" the VP asked. You seem to be the only one who truly understands the project. I agreed immediately. This was my chance to reclaim my work and prove my capabilities. 2 days later, I returned to the office. The atmosphere was thick with gossip and whispered conversations that stopped when I walked by. Everyone knew something big was happening. I was walking carefully, still healing from surgery, when I saw her approaching. The CEO herself, walking directly toward me with a warm smile. The entire lobby watched this unprecedented scene. "Haley," she said, extending her hand. "I'm glad I'm back. We need to talk." She gestured toward the executive elevators. Her corner office was impressive. Floor-to-ceiling windows, expensive furniture, walls lined with awards. But what struck me was the genuine respect in her voice. "You're the only one who truly understood the Lakeside project's design logic," she said directly. "After reviewing your original work compared to what was presented, the quality difference is remarkable." Explained the client would give us one final chance, but only if I personally led the project. Restoration. They specifically requested you after reviewing your designs. They said it was clear who the real architect was. "I want you to take complete leadership," she concluded. "Full authority, your own team, direct client access, whatever resources needed. We need to fix this, and you're the only one who can." For the first time in months, I felt truly valued. It was my moment to prove what I could do with proper support. I threw myself into rebuilding with renewed energy. First step: assembling a trustworthy team. Dana volunteered immediately, along with several interns marginalized under Colin's management. Even skeptical senior staff joined after seeing my restored designs. We worked long but productive hours, driven by passion rather than fear. The team dynamic was completely different. People felt comfortable sharing ideas, questioning decisions, contributing expertise. Late nights became collaborative sessions, refining details and solving problems together. Weeks into our rebuild, we received an encouraging visitor. The mayor's aide came for a personal progress review. Having heard positive reports about the project's revival, Zay walked her through updated plans, pointing out community benefits and environmental features. Her eyes lit up with excitement. "This is exactly what our city needs," she said, enthusiastically, studying blueprints with admiration. Her official support validated everything we'd worked toward. Just as we were hitting our stride, Colin appeared like a dark storm cloud. I hadn't seen him since before surgery, and he looked terrible. Stressed, exhausted, desperate. "I need a project status update," he demanded as if he still had authority. Client is asking questions." His voice carried familiar arrogance but sounded hollow. Underneath, before I could respond, building security appeared. "Mr. Brooks, you need to come with us," one guard said firmly. "You're on administrative suspension pending investigation." As guards led him away, Colin turned back desperately. "You think they'll really keep you?" he shouted across the lobby. "You're just a temporary fix." But his words sounded more like panic than confidence. The office watched uncomfortably as he was escorted out, his protests growing fainter as elevator doors closed. My team gathered around my desk, everyone shaken but relieved the toxic influence was finally being removed. With Colin gone, our project moved into high gear. I submitted clean projections to corporate, realistic budgets and timelines based on solid architectural principles, unlike Colin's inflated promises. The client response was immediate and positive. They loved the restored design and were impressed by our professionalism. After weeks of uncertainty, they signed the renewed contract enthusiastically. But then something unexpected happened. During routine financial review, accounting discovered serious discrepancies in Colin's budget reports. Numbers had been manipulated, costs hidden, projected revenues. Completely fictional. The discovery triggered comprehensive internal audit revealing a pattern of misconduct spanning multiple projects. Colin had been falsifying reports for months, making himself appear successful while setting projects for failure. Found myself called as a key witness for the investigation. My detailed project documentation became crucial evidence, proving not just design theft but financial manipulation. Every file I'd saved, every email preserved, now served as proof of his systematic misconduct. The investigators were particularly interested in how Colin had hidden his deception so long. The answer was simple. He'd been using others' work to cover incompetence while undermining anyone who might expose him. The systematic nature of his fraud was breathtaking. The following week, HR announced an all-staff meeting for Friday afternoon. The unusual Friday afternoon timing sent speculation ripples throughout the office. When the day arrived, the main conference room was packed beyond capacity. People stood along walls and crowded doorways, sensing something significant was coming. Tension was palpable as we waited. The CEO walked to the front with a grave expression, wasting no time on pleasantries. Effective. Immediately, she announced clearly. Colin Brooks has been terminated for serious misconduct, including harassment, document tampering, and financial fraud. The room erupted in gasps and murmurs. Some looked shocked, others relieved. Quite a few started clapping. Phone cameras discreetly appeared documenting this historic moment of accountability. I sat quietly, feeling vindication mixed with sadness it had come to this. The CEO continued with investigation findings, keeping specifics general for legal reasons. It was clear. Colin's misconduct had been extensive and systematic. As the meeting ended, many co-workers approached with congratulations and support. Some apologized for not speaking up earlier, others shared their own stories of Colin's behavior. The solidarity was overwhelming and healing. The next week brought formal announcement from corporate that shifted the entire office dynamic. They released a statement crediting me with securing both the Lakeside project and maintaining client relationships despite significant internal challenges. My inbox flooded with congratulations from colleagues, clients, even competitors who'd heard about the situation. The statement announced my promotion to Senior Project Architect, with expanded responsibilities and authority to lead major developments. It was everything I'd worked toward for years, achieved through actual merit and perseverance. But the message that surprised me most came from Colin himself. Subject line: I'm sorry. I stared at it for minutes before finding courage to open it. The email was brief and surprisingly humble. He acknowledged stealing my work, sabotaging my medical leave, and trying to blame me for his failures. He didn't make excuses, simply apologized and wished me success. I read it several times, processing this different side of the man who'd made my life miserable. There was no obvious angle. Seemed like genuine remorse from someone finally facing consequences of their actions. I never replied but didn't delete it either. It served as a reminder that even the worst people were capable of recognizing mistakes, even if too late to repair damage. 6 months later, I stood at the podium in our company's main conference room, looking out at an audience of architects, project managers, and corporate leaders. I'd been invited to speak at a seminar on workplace integrity. The room was full as I shared professional lessons learned, documenting work, standing up for contributions, the importance of ethical leadership in architecture. When respect leaves the room, I concluded, results leave with it. Workplace that doesn't value its people's contributions will ultimately fail to serve clients and community effectively. The audience applauded warmly, and several approached afterward to share similar experiences. As I packed up presentation materials, I noticed movement. Outside the conference room's glass wall, someone was standing there quietly watching through the transparent barrier. It took me a moment to recognize him. Colin, noticeably thinner and older looking, holding what appeared to be job hunting brochures. Eyes met through the glass briefly. He nodded slightly, a gesture that seemed to convey respect or acknowledgement. Then he turned quietly and walked away, disappearing into the crowd of professionals heading home. I felt no anger seeing him there, only quiet satisfaction that justice had been served. I had survived his worst efforts to destroy me, reclaimed my stolen work, and built something better from the wreckage he'd left behind. The Lakeside redevelopment project was now complete and thriving, exactly as I had originally envisioned. The waterfront district had been transformed into a vibrant community space where families gathered, businesses flourished, and the environment was protected through sustainable design. My team had grown into a respected department within the firm known for innovative designs and ethical practices. We'd won several industry awards for the Lakeside project and had been selected for even more ambitious developments. Most importantly, I had learned to value myself and my contributions, never again allowing anyone to diminish my worth or steal my work. The promotion had brought not just recognition but real authority to make positive changes in how projects were managed and how team members were treated. I implemented new protocols ensuring proper credit for contributions and preventing the kind of theft I had experienced. Other employees who had suffered under Colin's management began coming forward with their stories, feeling safe to speak up for the first time in years. The company instituted mandatory training on workplace ethics and harassment prevention. My medical recovery had been complete and successful, with no lasting complications from the surgery I had been forced to delay. The doctor had commended me for finally prioritizing my health despite workplace pressure. The client relationship had not only been salvaged but strengthened. They specifically requested our team for future projects and had recommended us to other major developers. The reputation Colin had nearly destroyed was now stronger than ever. Dana had been promoted to assistant project manager and was thriving in her new role. The interns who had joined our team had grown into skilled professionals, learning in an environment that valued their contributions and fostered their development. The financial impact of Colin's fraud had been contained through the early detection enabled by my evidence. The company avoided potential legal action from clients and regulatory bodies by taking swift corrective action and implementing stronger oversight procedures. Industry colleagues had taken notice of how the situation was handled, leading to speaking opportunities and professional recognition that enhanced both my career prospects and the company's reputation. The ordeal had taught me valuable lessons about documenting work, recognizing warning signs of toxic behavior, and the importance of having allies in the workplace. I made sure to share these lessons with younger colleagues who were just starting their careers. My relationship with my family had also strengthened through the experience. They had provided crucial emotional support during the most difficult period, and I had learned to maintain better work-life balance to preserve those important relationships. The stress and anxiety that had dominated my life during Colin's harassment had been replaced by confidence and job satisfaction. I looked forward to coming to work each day and felt energized by the creative challenges of each new project. The recording I had made of Colin's harassment had become a case study in the company's training materials, helping other employees understand their rights and the importance of documenting inappropriate behavior when it occurs. Colin's termination had sent a clear message throughout the organization that unethical behavior would not be tolerated, regardless of someone's position or perceived value to the company. This had created a more positive workplace culture overall. The mayor's aide who had visited during our project rebuild had become a valuable contact, leading to opportunities for public-private partnerships and community-focused developments that aligned with my values and interests as an architect. My backup documentation system had been refined and now served as a model for other professionals in protecting their intellectual property and maintaining records of their contributions to collaborative projects. The environmental sustainability features I had incorporated into the original lakeside design were now being recognized as innovative solutions that other cities wanted to replicate. This had led to consulting opportunities and speaking engagements at national conferences. The community spaces created by the project were being used exactly as I had envisioned. For farmers markets, outdoor concerts, children's activities, and neighborhood gatherings that brought people together and strengthened social bonds. My promotion had included a significant salary increase that improved my financial security and allowed me to pursue additional education and professional development opportunities that further enhanced my skills and expertise. The team dynamic we had built during the project crisis had become a model for how collaborative work should function, with open communication, mutual respect, and shared credit for successes. The investigation into Colin's misconduct had revealed that several other employees had been victims of his theft and manipulation over the years. The company had taken steps to review and correct the attribution of past work where possible. My experience had inspired me to become involved in professional organizations focused on ethics and workplace rights, where I could help other architects and professionals facing similar challenges in their careers. The client testimonials and project awards resulting from the Lakeside success had established my reputation in the field and led to recruitment offers from other firms, though I was happy to remain where I could continue making positive changes. The health issues that had necessitated my surgery had been completely resolved, and I maintained a much better approach to self-care and stress management that prevented work pressures from compromising my well-being again. The ripple effects of standing up for myself had extended far beyond my individual situation. Other women in the firm had been inspired to advocate for themselves and their work more assertively, leading to a more equitable workplace overall. The systematic documentation approach I had used to prove my case had been adopted as a best practice recommendation for all employees, helping protect intellectual property and ensure proper attribution of contributions across the organization. My story had been featured in industry publications as an example of how to handle workplace theft and harassment, providing guidance for other professionals who might find themselves in similar situations. The project management methodologies we had developed during the crisis rebuild had proven so effective that they were now being used for all major developments, improving efficiency and quality across the firm's entire portfolio. Mentorship relationships I had formed with junior staff members were paying dividends as they advanced in their careers, creating a positive legacy that would continue long into the future. The ethical standards that had been implemented following the investigation were now part of the company's competitive advantage, attracting both talent and clients who valued integrity and professionalism in their business relationships. My improved work life balance had allowed me to pursue personal interests and hobbies that had been neglected during the years of overwork and stress under Colin's management, contributing to my overall happiness and life satisfaction. The financial stability that came with the promotion had enabled me to make important investments in my future and provide support to family members who had helped me through the difficult period. The public recognition of my work on the Lakeside project had led to appointments on city planning committees and architectural review boards, giving me a voice in shaping community development beyond just my individual projects. The confidence I had gained from successfully navigating the crisis had made me a more effective leader and advocate both for my team and for the profession as a whole. The professional network I had built through handling the situation with integrity had become a valuable resource for collaboration and career advancement that continued to grow over time. The lessons learned about recognizing and responding to workplace harassment had been incorporated into presentations I gave to college students and young professionals, helping prepare the next generation to protect themselves. Environmental innovations from the Lakeside design had attracted attention from sustainability organizations and led to partnerships on green building initiatives that aligned with my personal values and professional interests. My family had gained a new appreciation for the challenges and importance of my work, strengthening our relationships and providing ongoing support for my career ambitions and achievements. The recording of Colin's harassment had been used, with appropriate privacy protections, in legal workshops for employment attorneys, helping them better understand how to advise clients in similar situations. The systematic approach I had taken to gathering evidence had become a template that the company's legal department now recommended to any employee facing workplace misconduct, improving outcomes for future cases. The speaking opportunities that had emerged from my experience allowed me to travel to conferences and events where I met other professionals who had faced similar challenges and built a supportive community. The transformation from victim to victor had been complete. What started as the worst period of my professional life had ultimately become the foundation for greater success, recognition, and personal satisfaction than I had ever imagined possible. The Lakeside project continued to serve as a showcase of what could be accomplished when talented people were given proper support and recognition for their contributions, attracting positive attention from across the industry. My team had become a destination for top talent who wanted to work in an environment that valued creativity, collaboration, and ethical behavior, ensuring continued success for future projects and maintaining the positive culture we had built. The policy changes implemented after Colin's termination had prevented other instances of similar misconduct, creating a safer and more equitable workplace for all employees regardless of their level or department. The community that had grown around the Lakeside development continued to thrive and serve as a model for sustainable urban planning that other cities were studying and adapting for their own projects. My health remained excellent, and the self-advocacy skills I had developed during the medical leave crisis had made me a better patient and self-care practitioner in all aspects of my life. Looking back, I could see that Colin's attempt to destroy my career had actually revealed my strength, resilience, and true professional capabilities in ways that might never have emerged under normal circumstances. The success story had become proof that integrity, documentation, and persistence could triumph over even systematic and sophisticated attempts at professional sabotage, providing hope and guidance for others facing similar challenges in their own careers. That was victory enough for anyone